Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of our Brown Bears podcast. I'm your host, Scott Cradisci. Glad you could join us. The Brown Bears podcast is brought to you each week by Rhode Island's T.F. Green Airport, where Easy has arrived, and it's here to stay. Learn more by visiting pvdairport.com. And a reminder, you can hear the Brown Bears podcast each and every Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, and we're happy to be with you this week with the man that just won the Bushnell Cup as the Ivy League's Offensive Player of the Year for the sport of football. Brown quarterback E.J. Perry is with us. E.J., how you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Well, congratulations on winning the award. That had to be exciting.
Yes, definitely. It's a great honor.
Yeah. So, E.J., tell us what it was like. I mean, going down to New York. You went down a couple of years ago before COVID. You were a finalist for this award, did not win it. Now you go back down there again, and they call your name.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable experience, and it's a great celebration of Ivy League football and athletics as a whole, having it back this year after that year off. So it was really cool to see all the people that support Ivy League football and Ivy League sports there.
And I've heard some of your reaction to winning the award, and you deflected a lot of the credit and said, look, it takes a whole team, right? It's not just the quarterback that is the player of the year. You talked about coaching, and I know some of your coaches, James was there, Heather was there, Ryan was there with you. You talked about your offensive line, your receivers, etc. Tell us about, who helped you earn this honor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Coach Perry does an amazing job with us as quarterbacks and as an offense, and to be able to learn from him for the past 3 years has been tremendous, and it's shown on the field in our improvement as an offense. And I think he's certainly done a great job in it matriculates through the staff, and they've done an unbelievable job individually of getting us prepared each week. And I think that's why we had success on the offensive side of the ball this year. And at times that obviously we wanted to have more success and execute at a higher level, and obviously I think that'll really come in these next couple of years, and these guys below who saw the process that it takes and to take that next step, and I think it's going to be exciting to watch.
EJ, to me, it really speaks to the amount of respect other coaches in the league have for you that you were picked for this award. And I say that because, look, we were 2-8 this year as a team, and it's not often that somebody from a team with a losing record or somebody from a team that doesn't win an Ivy championship wins this season-ending award, yet you did. So to me, I mean, that really speaks to the respect that other coaches in the league have for you and how good of a player they think you are.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and I think that's one of the things. It's been difficult. I know accepting the different honors and awards that they've given, and I know it's a high honor, but every time I have to accept one of them or be there, it reminds me of a lot of tight losses, a lot of tough losses that we took. And I know the 11 guys or other guys that came back and put life on hold to support Brown football and Brown University, and the 11 seniors or 12, 13 seniors that there were on the team, they came back because they love Brown, they love Brown football, they love Brown athletics, and I think it's going to mean a lot to us. We were handicapped by the fact that there's only 23 of us in our last year.
Yep.
Versus the other Ivy League. And, we came back to set an example and try to set an example. And I think, when we watch Brown football as supporters in the years to come, when they start winning championships, and that's what it's all about. And, I'm looking over there, there's a Brown football that says 7-1 in the Ivy League case. And, those are going to be the things. And I think when they do that in the next couple of years, we're going to feel a lot of appreciation and a lot of gratitude, for being a part of laying the foundation and helping them. And I hope, they appreciate us, and, they're going to get to enjoy it, and it's going to be fun to watch.
So the Bushnell Cup was sponsored by and presented by the National Football Foundation. How cool is it to have another Brown football alum, George Pine, be a part of the whole ceremony?
Yeah, Mr. Pine has been an unbelievable supporter of Brown athletics and Brown football, especially. I was lucky enough to be an intern at his company along with a bunch of other Brown athletes, and what they do there is special, and it shows what great leadership takes to do. I mean, they run a huge operation with not a lot of guys, and it's really impressive what he does. And to have his support means a lot to Brown, and he's one of the people that makes it special, and there's a whole bunch of them a part of that, and to be there and accept that award from him, is very special.
So you talked about, kind of laying the foundation for future success. I want to ask you this question. So 3 years ago, when you transferred from Boston College to Brown, the team finished the season 2-8. But EJ, I can tell you, being very close to this program for many years, I could see and I could feel the excitement and the change in culture in the program. I could tell how close you were as a team. And I wonder if maybe the pandemic and a year without sports in the Ivy League may have taken away some of that momentum from you guys. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying you had to start from scratch again this past fall, but I was so excited about that season. And even though the record was the same 2-8, we were in every game. We had a chance to win a lot of games there. And then all of a sudden, whammo, the world shuts down for a year, right? And then we come back this year. Do you feel like any of that momentum may have been taken away because of the pandemic from your team?
I think, the league was extremely strong this year. And when you look across the league, the number of seniors and fifth years, especially the fifth years, that put life on hold across the league shows the love for the league and, what it means to play in this league and how it's, that they use the term unrivaled experience. And, people wanted that experience of their senior year in this league and to all go and try to win a championship. And, it is a fact of the matter that we were handicapped a little bit with the numbers of returning players that we had in those senior classes. We were able to build our roster, which Coach Perry was very happy about, and with a lot of great talent and young guys that are going to be terrific players. But, we did have a lot of guys who were playing in their first season, where I'm not sure if you look around the league, that was necessarily the case. And, that's no excuse. And none of our seniors took that as an excuse. And we all did everything we could during the pandemic to prepare ourselves and, make it our advantage. And we never quit throughout the season. And I think you saw that throughout the season, that Columbia game, our defense played as hard and tough as anyone has, as any defensive game I've seen for the group of guys. And that was a game, we weren't in Ivy League championship contention. We weren't in any of that stuff. And that was something, fun to be a part of and special to be a part of. And on the opposite side of the ball, we wish we came up with our end, but it was definitely an extremely strong league, and we have a lot of great guys. And I think one of the things that is to Brown's advantage from this year is a lot of those young guys got great playing time, great experience. And, when trying to change this program and build it for the future, I think that's going to be a huge key and a huge part of the success they're going to have in the future.
EJ Perry is our guest on the Brown Bears podcast. EJ, let's go all the way back to the beginning. So born and raised in Andover, Massachusetts, and part of a family that has just been extraordinary in athletics. What was it like growing up at Perry? Because, look, I know I grew up in the Merrimack Valley. My first job out of college was for a radio station in Haverhill, so I had a chance to broadcast some of your uncles and dad's games and things like that. But everybody knew the Perry name in the Merrimack Valley is the point, right? All great athletes, no matter what the sport. So you grow up in the Perry family, and not playing sports isn't an option, it seems like, right? I mean, sports is such a big part of your identity and the Perry family makeup.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly not playing sports in the backyard is not an option. Whether they continue to have that success or continue to choose that path, there's been certainly a bunch of people to do great things in other areas. But certainly when the ball gets rolled out in the backyard, even the wives and, my aunts and uncles are they're dragged into the game whether they want to be or not. So it's always fun, and there's always a competitive spirit. And my aunt Grace, she was a great player herself, but when I was out in the backyard, she wasn't afraid to elbow me as a 10-year-old. So it goes all the way through, and it's always makes for fun events and holidays.
It's one thing to have the God-given athletic ability. It's another thing to have that fire in your belly, that competitive streak. And, I've said this to you in the past, and I was introduced to it really firsthand when James played here, and he also won Ivy League Player of the Year like you. It's such a compliment when I tell people he's a Perry. And I know what that means to me. When I say he's a Perry, that means you are a competitor to the highest level. You love to compete, you love to win, you hate to lose, right?
Absolutely. I think that's accurate.
Yeah, and I mean
definitely
that's
don't
just
like to lose.
you can't really teach that stuff. My point is, it runs in your family, which is great, and that's why I was so excited when I found out you were transferring here from Boston College. I'm like, oh, great, we got another Perry. But I mean, is that just because as kids it was competitive in those backyard games and things like that? Was it born from that?
Yeah, I think obviously my uncle would be a better spokesman for that, but being one of seven for them, you have to fight for everything, whether it's leftovers at the kitchen table or to win the game in the backyard or whatever the case is. When you have to fight for your voice to be heard, and when there's a bunch of voices in the house, so I think it definitely matriculated down from that atmosphere, and they've done a great job of bringing it to the next generation and delivering it to us on to definitely compete as hard as you can, and do it with sportsmanship and class, obviously, but you want to win.
So in high school, you were great in multiple sports, but at some point you decided to hone in on football. This is the one that I want to pursue a career in. This is the one I want to go to college to play. How did you make that decision?
I was given an opportunity. I loved all three sports and I loved to play, but the opportunity to play Division I football at the highest level was an opportunity that really grabbed me, and I wanted to do, and it's been an unbelievable experience in college.
Now you said all three sports, by the way: basketball and baseball. The others?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lacrosse wasn't an option. Huh?
No.
Okay.
My mom's side of the family all played baseball. They were her three brothers played two at Harvard and one at Boston College. So I got my coaching from that side in that sport.
Okay. And so you decided to pursue football, and you were an amazing high school player. Tell us about the offers and how you wound up at Boston College.
Yeah, it was a dream, to play, at the highest level of Division I football in the ACC and in your backyard. So when I had that opportunity, I took it immediately, and I had a great experience there. And when I decided to transfer, and Brown was an unbelievable opportunity to get an unbelievable education, and best in the world type of deal, and to continue to play Division I football in an unbelievable conference and with unbelievable tradition, and my experience here has been unbelievable.
You had FBS and FCS offers when you decided to transfer from Boston College. What made this the right spot for you?
Yeah, I think, I sat down and, at first made the decision that I wanted to play right away without sitting out. So that eliminated the FBS option, and I kind of swayed away from that. And then when I was making my decisions on which school to attend in the FCS and visiting these different schools and listening to the pitches, obviously Brown has an unbelievable opportunity academically and has such great things to offer besides football. But when I, spoke with Coach Perry and the rest of his staff, their sales pitch, or say recruiting pitch, was, all about becoming a better player, and that's what sold me, is because that's what I wanted to do. I had a feeling of wanting to play as a freshman and sophomore, and when I look back at that, it was, I didn't play because I wasn't the player I am today. So I knew I needed to get better if I wanted to be the player I wanted to be, and when their sales pitch was that, to make you a better player, and that's the focus and the process of doing that, that sold me.
So your Uncle James, obviously your head coach, and NFL scouts continually showed up at our practice this year. I want to kind of hone in on something you said. You wanted to play right away, so that eliminated transferring to another FBS school. So it was FCS. Now, a lot of people watching or listening might think, well, you go the FCS route, it's harder to make it to the NFL. And there's a lot of truth to that. But the other side of that coin is, if you're that good, scouts are going to find you. And we've seen that with guys here, James Devlin. Look at Michael Hoyt, who's in the NFL with the LA Rams on their 53-man roster. But, James Devlin. So the point is, they'll find you. And they've found you here at Brown, right? I think 31 of 32 teams, I think I read a quote from James saying have been to practice and watched you play this year. Did that enter your mind at all? When you said I'm going to transfer to the FCS level, knowing that you're going to, a different level of football that might not be as highly recruited or watched by NFL scouts.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was part of it. Obviously, that's been my goal since I started playing athletics, is to play at the highest level, and the NFL is that for football, and that's obviously always been in the back of my mind while I've been focusing on what's at hand today and during the season. But when I made that decision and looking at that, I mean, there's really been two conferences in FCS football that have consistently produced NFL talent, and that's the CAA and the Ivy League. And the Ivy League has done so, I think, at the highest clip in the last 20 or so years. And that obviously, when discussing options, that was a part of it. And playing in this league, there's extremely high level of talent, and you see that on Sundays with guys succeeding, and a number of Brown guys who actually, I think a couple of them just retired, and then we have Hoyt as well.
Yep. Let's talk about some of the highlights from this season. First of all, I have to ask you about the touchdown catch that you had. Tell us about that trick play that McGovern, it was a toss back from Smith to McGovern, and he found you streaking down the sidelines.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, what we call a 3-play series where we run it as fast as we can. The third play of that series was this play where I line up a receiver and they direct snap it to Allen. And I kind of fake like I'm doing nothing coming off the ball. And they're going to run the other way. And he pitched it back to McGovern, and then I start to go. And, when I faked like I was walking off the line, the eyes of the cornerback kind of lit up of, oh, it's a free shot at the quarterback. And he lunged to hit me, and I kind of sidestepped him. And, it worked out well on that play. And, Michael McGovern threw a great ball, and we were able to score.
So, I mentioned your coach and your uncle, James Perry. You're not going to be here next year. And a lot of people say, uh-oh, no E.J. Perry. What's that going to mean for the Brown offense? And look, I think anytime you lose a talent like yourself, I mean, those are big shoes to fill. Having said that, and you'd know better than I think your uncle is such an innovative offensive mind that no matter who the quarterback is, whether it's Wilcox or somebody else, I feel like this offense is going to move the football and score points, because I have that much respect for James, seeing what he's done here as quarterbacks coach, at Princeton as offensive coordinator, and now back here as the head coach. Am I right in thinking that way?
Absolutely. I absolutely. I think, there will be, he will do his up-tempo offense, and he will spend the next 9 months getting all those guys prepared to run it at an efficient level and execute at a high level. And that quarterback room was an unbelievable room to be a part of from the top down. Me and Michael having experience, it was so fun to watch how fast these guys picked up things and quickly they learned. And that's, talking about, guys like Jake and Gilly and Cortland and Will Jarvis and, Michael Walsh and all these guys in that room, Nate Lucier, who, found his way onto the field in other roles, and same with Michael Walsh. And, it's a very versatile room. It's a very smart room, and it's a very competitive room, and it's going to be fun to watch and see how camp plays itself out, and then the season as well. And I guarantee, similar to this year in 2019, there'll be more than one of those guys on the field every game.
So you graduate this month. What do you graduate with a degree in from Brown?
Sociology.
Okay. And your next step is to begin training for the combine, correct? Well, actually, I should say you've accepted an invitation to play in the East-West Shrine Bowl in February 1st, right?
Yep.
But so training for that, and then, of course, training for the combine. Where do you go from here?
So I am, currently working out at a gym in Foxborough until after the holidays, and then I'm going to head down south and go to a combine prep place there. And hopefully I'm, lucky enough to have an opportunity to compete at the combine. And like you said, I'm going to be playing an East-West game in February, which should be an unbelievable opportunity to, compete against great guys and unbelievable players. So I'm very excited.
You signed with an agent?
Yep.
Okay, and so he's helping, I would imagine, coordinate a lot of that stuff for you, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, and now I also read in, I think, I'm not sure if it was the Boston Globe story that I read, but you attended the Manning Passing Academy last summer, and you got to compete with and see guys like Bryce Young, the recent Heisman Trophy winner from Alabama. Obviously, you got to, pick the brains of guys like Eli and Peyton Manning. And it was also a place where that's kind of, was that the aha moment that, no, I can make it at the next level. It's going to be work, but I can be a pro quarterback if I put my mind to it.
It was definitely an unbelievable experience. What they do down there for anyone who has the chance to go, either as a player or even as eventually as a counselor or even later as a coach. It's truly like a really cool experience down in Louisiana, and there are 1,500 kids, all there wanting to get better and learn from you and do all. And it's very football intensive, and you get these great experiences. And then as a counselor, you have the opportunity to work with Peyton and Eli, and hear from Archie Manning, who was obviously all three legends of the game, and it was an unbelievable experience. And to be around those 30 or so other guys who are top level quarterbacks, it's like football heaven, quarterback heaven there. And it was a great experience, and to be able to compete with those guys and show my skills. What I noticed is that there isn't a guy there who tomorrow is going to win the Super Bowl. It's going to be a lot of work put into it for whoever ends up. And every year they have guys go on to be 15-year NFL starters from that camp and to win Super Bowls. And obviously Peyton and Eli themselves did it. And that's the encouraging part I noticed, is that every single guy, and whoever ends up being that guy, or the number of guys that end up having great success in that next league, are going to be much, much different players in 5 years than they are at that camp. So, there's a lot of work ahead, and that's very exciting and encouraging that I get to, hopefully compete and become that player.
I asked you if that was the moment that you knew you would have a shot at competing for a spot in the pros. You probably knew that when you were at Boston College, right? I mean, you played against Clemson and some other schools as a sophomore. So, I mean, you've competed at the highest level against guys that, eventually would play in the NFL.
Yeah, there's a number of my teammates who I keep in contact with that are currently playing in the NFL and have had great success in the NFL. And, while I've been in college, that's, you always aspire to do that. And it's always unbelievable to, talk and watch these guys who you play with, have great success. But, you're just focused on getting better every day. And hopefully at the end of 4 years, you got good enough to get a chance. And, the next steps, hopefully I'll get that shot, and we'll see how it goes.
When you look back at your 2 years on the field, what are some of your greatest memories?
I think, the Columbia game 2 years or 3 years ago, I guess now at this point, was, a great point of, everyone kind of came together. We started it off with that defensive touchdown, and then, throughout the entire game, the whole team was making plays. I think that was Nick Messina at the time.
Yep.
And then we had
Alan Smith. Was it the fourth down touchdown run?
4th and 1 right before the half. And we obviously jumped out with that defensive touchdown, and I think an offensive touchdown following that to a 2 touchdown lead, or whatever the case was. We had a lead in the game, and Columbia, obviously, just like every game in this league, they fight back, and they close it to a touchdown, and then Allen, separates it again right before half, and then they close it again, and then, LJ with that unbelievable catch in the corner of the end zone. And then they're all the way down again at the end of the game, cutting it again to, a 1-score game. And Cooper DeVoe, made an unbelievable interception to kind of seal the deal right before they were able to score that touchdown. So that was a very fun game to be a part of. It felt like everyone on both sides of the ball was clicking, and it felt like Brown football. And, one of the things that we're going to see in the future is that's going to be the mantra, and you're going to have those type of games over and over again, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Any regrets or anything you look back and say, man, I wish I had done this differently, or I wish this had gone a different way?
I mean, there's like 400 of them. I mean, there's every game, there's 10 plays that you think about when you lay your head on the pillow at night, and, right after that game, and you're like, oh, I probably shouldn't have made that decision. Oh, I should have, thrown that one a little better, or, ran down that one, or whatever the case is. Watching film, that's endlessly what you have is, and you just try to, write them down and make notes and make better decisions the next time, and hope there's a little bit less of those when you lay your head on the pillow the next Saturday. So, no, there's definitely, we played, I think in 2019, there was like 6 games decided by, 5 points or something like that. And this year we had, a little bit further margins, but it was like mostly of our own doing in terms of, whether it was turnovers or, bad execution on certain plays. And just, there's always, every time you lose a game, and when you win a game, the only thing is you don't really look too closely because, you won. So,
Right.
It's something, good players do is they just try to eliminate those as best they can.
Why is it that the tough losses or the bad plays stick with us longer than the great moments or the wins? And I ask that because I've heard Tom Brady say this. Look, you've forgotten more about football than I'll ever know, but I played in high school, and a moment that will always stand with me for the rest of my life was we were playing the Amesbury Indians. I played at Pentucket, and I did what was called a post corner route, and I was wide open. I beat the corner by a mile. My quarterback underthrew it. It got intercepted. I came back and tackled the guy, but I look back and I'm like, if I had reacted a little bit more quickly, I could have batted that down, and it wouldn't have been an interception. We'd still be alive on offense. But why do we look at those moments of failure, and why do they stick with us more than the great ones?
Yeah, and I think it's that type of, I think it's something called like internal locus or external locus, and you're always constantly looking internally on what you could have done better. And it, when everyone talks about, oh, only control the things you can control, those are the things, right, that you can control. And you felt that, I only have a limited effect on this game, whether it's, you're a special teams player and you get those chances, or even as the quarterback, I'm only on the field, a third of the game, or a little bit more than a third of the game, with, offense, defense, and special teams. And, I get to, touch the ball every play, but, I'm handing it off sometimes. So the times I get to control, the, outcomes in the game, you want to do that right, because the rest of the game, you have 10 other guys or on the field at the time. And then, 119 other guys on the sideline that are all looking to you so that they're in the game, and, that they have a chance to control what they can control. And that's the whole do your job type of mantra. And, you just look internally, I think, and that's why it weighs on you, because you have only a certain number of opportunities in a game to, help your team win, and you want to do that right every time.
You mentioned L.J. Harriet earlier in that Columbia game, and that year you had some pretty good senior receivers in L.J. and Dimitri Jackson and Jacob Prawl and Scott Boylan and Logie, your tight end. You're right, and even a guy like Danny Gemmel, who and fellow Andover guy as well. And then this year, it's almost an entirely new cast, right? New guys. And I have to tell you, this new cast of wide receivers, boy, I thought they really improved week by week. And the one thing I'll say about them is I thought they all had great hands. Like, I felt like if there were contested balls, that they were going to win those battles 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, it was very fun to play with all 3 of those guys and the guys behind them. I mean, we had guys, something like 19 or something, some ridiculous number of guys catch passes this year. And, it made for very fun practices, very fun off-season training. And those guys took to it. Like, you're talking about Wes, Graham, and Hayes, 3 guys who love to work and get better. And it showed, and they're great examples for younger guys on the team of, if I think Wes had like 3 catches, in 2019, and, he has 47 and 8 touchdowns this year. So if you want to get better and you put in the work, you're going to see results. And he's a great example of that. And that it makes it fun to play with guys who love to work and love to get better, because it makes everything easier, and made my life easier, definitely, when I threw the ball and they were going to catch those contested balls, because they've done it a million times, whether it be in practice or throwing one-on-one with me or another quarterback in our room, or whatever the case is. We had a great repertoire between Wes, Hayes, and Graham, and Zach, and et cetera, Jordan McIntyre. I mean, there's a million guys down the line that
You know who was a good third down target for you? Was Allen Houston. Like,
Yeah.
he always seemed to know where the sticks were and get there for that first down catch.
Absolutely, absolutely. He had another guy who, like Wes, in 2019 only caught a handful of balls and made a major step forward, and he'll continue to make a major step next year, and it's going to be a very competitive wide receiver room, fighting, and that makes for good offense and good teams.
Yep. So you graduate from here, you head down to Florida, and then the East-West Shrine game. I mean, that and the Senior Bowl are the two big games, I think, that NFL scouts and coaches identify. And then I assume would you get an invitation to the Combine, or do you not know that yet? How does that work?
They release those in January, and the NFL has some sort of process in which they decide that, and then they send them out sometime in January, and then the Combine is in March, the first week of March.
So will that determine whether or not you hold a pro day, or would you do both? If you got an invite,
you do both. Yeah, everyone does both, but what determines is it shapes whether you like rerun or retest. If you don't go to the Combine, you do all the testing during your pro day.
Yeah.
If you do go to the Combine, they already have those numbers, so you don't have to get tested again in your pro day. So it's that type of thing, and we'll see how that works out.
What are you hearing from the scouts? In other words, okay, here's what we like about you. Here's what we'd like to see you improve upon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a laundry list of things that I need to get better on, and there always is going to be. And it's there's certain decisions that I need to get better at. There's certain being more accurate, being more consistent, and all the way down the line. And that's going to be the next 4 or 5 weeks until the East-West game, and then the 4 or 5 weeks to the Combine, and using all this time to just get better and refine and refine and refine. And it's going to be a process, hopefully, if I'm successful enough, that is going to continue for every offseason to come, that I'm lucky enough to continue to play this game. And I really look forward to that, and it's going to be a fun experience.
He's the 5th Brown player to win the Bushnell Cup in the history since they started awarding it in 1970, including his uncle and head coach at Brown, James Perry. EJ, best of luck to you. We're all rooting for you. We can't wait to see you on Sundays in the NFL. And thank you for everything that you've done here in your 2+ years. It's just been, selfishly, it's been a privilege to broadcast your games. It's just so fun to watch you play. And like I said, we couldn't be more happy for you.
Absolutely. Thank you, and go Bruno.